Come on, we need to share.
Okay. Chapter 10.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bhuya Eva Mahabaho Shinu Me Paramam Vacha Yatte Ham Priyamanya Vakshyami Hita Kamyaya.
Mataji, while reciting, you have to unmute yourself if you're reciting in English.
Yes, my apology. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna, because you are my dear friend, for your benefit, I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained."
Text 2.
Na me vidhi gana prabhavam na maharsaya aham adir hi devanam marisinam cha sarvasa.
Neither the host of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages.
Text 3.
Yomam ajam anadim cha veti loka maheswaram asamudda samartyeshu sarva pape pramuchyate.
He who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only, undiluted among men, is freed from all sins.
Text 4 and 5.
Buddha jnanam asamoha shava satyam damasama sukam dukam bhavo bhavo bayam cha bayameva cha ahimsa samata tushtis tapo danam yasho yasa bhavanti bhava bhutanam mata eva pritagvida.
Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusions, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame and infamy, all these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone.
Text 6.
Maharshaya satyapurve Chatvare manavasthatha madhava manasa jata yeshan loka imapasa.
The seven great sages, before them the four other great sages, and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descends from them.
Text 7.
Etam yogam cha mama yogati tatvata swavikalpena yogena yujyate natta samsayaha.
One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt.
Text 8.
Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matma bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha.
I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts.
Text 9.
Machita madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam taryantastamam nityam tushyanti charamanti cha.
The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me.
Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mama payanti te.
To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Haribol, Prabhu, we can't hear.
We can't hear you.
Sorry,
We
sorry.
can't hear you, Prabhu.
तेषामेवानुकमं परतम् अहम् अज्ञानजं तमः नश्यामि आत्मभावस्थो ज्ञानदीपेन तस्वता.
To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance.
अर्जुन उवाच परं ब्रह्म परं धाम पावित्तं परमं भवन् पुरुषं शाश्वतं दिव्यम् आदिदेवम् अजं विभुम् अहस्तमसया सर्वे देवर्षयो नारदस्तथा आस्थितो देवलो व्यासः स्वयं चैव भविष्यमे.
Arjuna said, "You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asika, Devala, and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now you yourself are declaring it to me."
Text 14.
सर्वमेतत् कृतं मन्ये यन्मं वदसि केशव न हि ते भगवन् व्यक्तिं विदुर्देवा न दावनः.
O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality.
Text 15.
स्वयमेवात्मनात्मानं वेत्ता तं पुरुषोत्तम भूतभावान् भूतेश देवदेवा जगत्पते.
Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency. O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe.
Text 16.
वक्तमानस्य शेषेण दिव्या हि आत्मविभूतयः आविर्विभूतिर्लोकन् इमं स्तं व्यापयातिस्तसि.
It is, which one was the, oh yeah, sorry.
17.
Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all this world.
Text 17.
कथं विद्यमहं योगीं त्वं सदा परचिन्तयन् तेषु केषु च भावेषु चिन्त्योऽसि भगवन्मया.
O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you, and how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead?
Text 18.
वित्सरेण मनोयोगं विभूतिं च जनार्दन वैयाकातया तृप्तिर्हि चिन्वतो नष्टिमोमृतम्.
O Janardana, again please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I'm never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words.
Text 19.
Make it big. I can't see 19. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Hanta te katishyami Deva hi atma vibhutayaha Madayanyata Kureshista Nashti Anto Vitsarame.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless."
Text 20.
Aham atma gudakshikesha sarva sayastita Aham adischa madhyam cha Bhutanam anta eva cha.
I am the Super Soul, O Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings.
Text 21.
Adityanam aham Vishnu Jyoti Samravir Ansuman Hirmarutammasmi Nakshataranam aham Sasi.
Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu of lights. I'm the radiant sun of the Maruts. I'm Marichi, and among the stars, I'm the moon. Is that it now, Prabhu, isn't it? 21?
That's right. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Om Tat Sat.
Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful recitation, Mataji and Sridham. So we are now into the 10th chapter. Those of you who have just joined us a short while ago, 10th chapter has 42 verses, and the way Chad works is, in order to make it really more absorbing and keeping the time, space, and requirements in mind, some chapters of Bhagavad Gita are divided into two parts. So the chapter 10 is like divided into two chapters. So we will only be going through 21 verses over the next 28 days, over the two Ekadashis. And then we will start the second part of the 10th chapter, which will begin with the 22nd verse. So, so today we will be starting with our first verse from this beautiful chapter. I will shortly share my screen with all of you now. Hopefully, are you able to see my screen?
We can't see
Yes,
it.
dear.
No, we
Okay.
can't.
Okay. Coming. All right, one second. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Okay. So this is a beautiful chapter, the 10th chapter called The Opulence of the Absolute Truth, and this is our text 1. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bhuya Eva Mahabhao Shunu Me Paramam Vacha Yatte Aham Priya Manya Manaya Vaksham Ihita Kamayaya.
Yeah.
If I could request devotees to please mute yourself, that will be great. There are a few who are not muted at the moment. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna, because you are my very dear friend, my dear friend, for your benefit I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained." Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The word Bhagavan is explained thus by Parashara Muni, one who is full in 6 opulences, who has full strength, full fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation is Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While Krishna was present on this earth, he displayed all 6 opulences. Therefore, great sages like Parashara Muni have all accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now Krishna is instructing Arjuna in more confidential knowledge of his opulences and his work. Previously, beginning with the 7th chapter, the Lord has already explained his different energies and how they are acting. Now in this chapter, he explains his specific opulences to Arjuna. In the previous chapter, he has clearly explained his different energies to establish devotion in firm conviction. Again in this chapter, he tells Arjuna about his manifestations and various opulences. The more one hears about the Supreme God, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. One should always hear about the Lord in the association of devotees. That will enhance one's devotional service. Discourses in the society of devotees can take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Others cannot take part in such discourses. The Lord clearly tells Arjuna that because Arjuna is very dear to him, for his benefit such discourses are taking place. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubeva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here we are, dear Prabhus and Mataji, at the beginning of this beautiful chapter, the opulence of the Absolute. So just to set the scene, these are some important aspects of what we have covered and what is it that we will be covering in the 10th chapter before we begin to talk about today's verse. So here we see Krishna ends the 9th chapter with the imperative to fix the mind on Krishna. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru. We heard this beautiful verse and the details of the verse and what should be our focus of our life and what we should be doing from His Grace Mukunda Hari Prabhu yesterday. And now in the 10th chapter, this chapter describes the Lord's opulence on which a devotee can fix his mind and how to remember Him when he see opulent, powerful and beautiful things in this world. So it's a very interesting concept. Krishna is telling Man Bana Bhava Madbhakto, absorb your mind into me, think of me, become my devotee. Now one may say, okay, that is all very nice, but in order to think of somebody all the time, you need to know about that person a little bit more. So similarly, the Lord, whose opulence is actually unlimited, we can't even begin to describe these 6 attributes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But suffice to say here, we see that in this particular chapter, Krishna is going to talk a lot more about his opulence, so we can naturally try to fix our mind and try to appreciate the Lord through his manifestation. And now, in the conclusion of the chapter 9 is that one should become a pure devotee of the Lord. That was our conclusion at the 9th chapter. And therefore, the chapter 10 will increase our devotion by hearing more about Krishna's opulences. So please try to remember this. Chapter 9 is telling us to increase our devotion towards the Lord, having known that He is the ultimate source of all the incarnations. Best to worship Him against all the demigods, because to start worshipping 32,000 or 32 crores demigods, we're going to be struggling to be able to keep our time and effort and energy together. But now that we have learned that the best place is to fix our mind on Krishna, let's learn more about Krishna's opulences in this chapter. And these are the different sections which we will be covering in this chapter. Because it's the first day of this chapter, I thought it's a good idea to give you all a little bit of an overview as to what exactly will be happening in this chapter. So this chapter has predominantly 4 different sections. So the section 1 is from text 1 to text 7, where we are going to understand Krishna's unknowability and how one can serve Him. Like, although we are trying to know Him, but it's actually very difficult to know the Lord. But still, knowing Him a little bit, we can start to serve the Lord. And His origin is impossible, as I said, to understand, for He is the source of all incarnations. That which has been created cannot independently understand its own source. So, we ourselves are being created by somebody, we are not the creator. So we struggle to understand our own existence, our source in so much of detail, what to speak to understand about our Creator, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And one who understands this fact, he serves Krishna with devotion. So this is what the essence will be of the first 7 verses. And in the second section, which is the text 8 to the text 11, which is the most important section of Bhagavad Gita, dear Prabhus and Matajis, these 4 shlokas, if you are able to remember any shlokas in Bhagavad Gita, try to memorize these 4 shlokas, because these 4 shlokas are giving us the essence of this Bhagavad Gita. In fact, the essence of all the Vedic literature is delivered through these 4 verses. And the message on the verses are that the opulence of His position as source of all, eagerness of His devotees to love and serve Him, and His own reciprocation with the eagerness of the devotees. So these three elements will describe Bhakta, Bhagavan, and Bhakti. These three things we will be able to understand very, very beautifully in these three shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. In the third section, from text, sorry, I missed out, it's text 11 to 18, Arjuna accepts Krishna's position and requests to hear more of his opulences. So here Arjuna refers to his previous authorities, like he quotes Devala, Vyasa, Narada, all these wonderful personalities to confirm what he has understood from Krishna, that what you're telling me, Krishna, is actually true. And you know, why is that true? Not just because you're telling me, which is very nice, but even Devala, Vyasa, Narada, all these Mahajans who are coming in the disciplic succession, they all have spoken the same truth which you have given to me, Krishna. So I completely accept this truth as it is. And thus it confirms Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, also by his own realization. And then he prays to Krishna to hear more of his glories, so that he can always think of him and remember him. Otherwise, Krishna will remain unknowable. And in the section 4, we will be covering from text 19 to text 42 various opulences of Lord Krishna, describing the most prominent among his limitless and all-pervading opulences. I mean, who can describe Krishna's opulences in 23 verses? It's not possible, my dear Prabhus and Matajis. However, Krishna said, let me give you a gist of my opulences in these verses, so that we can develop some idea how wonderful our Lord is. And then, because of he pervades and supports the entire universe with a mere fragment of his total potency, we will be able to understand so much else is going on in the background, actually, which we are not able to see with our gross or even subtle senses at this stage of our life. So hopefully this part will help you to understand that how these are various different sections of this beautiful chapter, and it will also encourage us to stay tuned by kind of reading the entire chapter as we go along in different parts and get to know more about Krishna, for whom we want to develop our love, actually. And these are some practical applications which we will be learning from the section 1. We will get to know of Krishna's supreme position is an inspiration for one to take the process of devotional service. You see, when we understand somebody, like, for example, you know, we are inspired by certain personalities in our life. So like I'll share an example. In my work environment, in my leadership role, it's very important for me to stay connected with what's happening in order for me to bring new dynamics of leadership and experiences to my work. So time to time, I do refer to people like Stephen Covey, you know, who wrote beautiful books like 7 Habits of Influential People and various other leadership sutras or books which are available. And that's only because I want to learn about them and how they successfully ruled their expertise in what they were doing, so that I can bring that to my work. Similarly, in order to learn or in order to develop our understanding and have more conviction in devotional service, we need to have some kind of inspiration to feel inspired in our devotional service. And that inspiration comes from these instructions and opulences of Krishna, knowing how wonderful Lord is. And that way we can understand Krishna by his mercy and not by material qualification. That's the other part we will learn in the text 2 and 3. And full understanding of Krishna frees one from all sins, which will be explained in the text 3. And by understanding Krishna, there is a hope we can also get free from sin. And finally, by appreciating Krishna's position, naturally leads to surrender. The more we understand how beautiful our Lord, how beautiful our Nath is, how beautiful Krishna is, naturally a mood of surrender will start to cultivate in our heart in small steps which we are trying to make in order to come closer to Krishna. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, text 1, where the theme of this particular verse, sorry, it took me a while to come to the text 1 today, because I just thought we are starting a first chapter. Let's just build a nice rhythm and understand what's happening in the 10th chapter, so that it helps us to carry on over the next sort of 28 days for the 2 Ekadashis with an impetus to understand this chapter and appreciate it even more. So the theme in this particular text is that Krishna tells us to listen carefully as he will reveal more wonderful knowledge about his opulences. So the underlining principle is to listen or to hear Krishna Katha, because even the opulences of the Lord are Krishna Katha. Anything Krishna speaks or his devotee speaks is Krishna Katha. And Srimad Bhagavatam very clearly states that should be the aim of our life, to develop some attraction. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jnana Ati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Chata Ahitukam. That by developing understanding about by Krishna or performing devotional service, we don't have to separately endeavor to understand or get knowledge or renunciation. These two things automatically comes as a result of hearing Harikatha and performing devotional service. So here he's saying, Arjuna, listen again. And what is the qualification? That you're my dear friend. We have to become friend of Krishna or servant of servant of servant of Krishna. And then I shall speak for your benefit knowledge that is better than what is already explained. And here is the focus of learning from this particular verse. So the first one is to understand Bhagavan. The meaning of this word is explained by Parashara Muni as one who is full of 6 opulences. So we have read those about those opulences. The Lord is full of renunciation. Like, even though he has so much of opulence, 16,000 queens in Dwarka, he's completely renounced. And we know some of the examples, like for example, in the 10th chapter, where Rasa Pancha Adhyaya of the 10th canto, not 10th chapter, the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam explains that how Krishna, on the full moon night of Purnima, invites all the gopis to dance. And when all the gopis are so happy, they're dancing, Krishna immediately vanishes from there and he's completely gone. And, trying to teach them a lesson that, I cannot be, I am full of renunciation. So like this, there are different opulences the Lord has. He's full of riches. There is nobody as rich as Lord Krishna. Imagine having to, of course, to look after one wife, look after 2 children, 3 children in itself is an austerity. But to take care of 16,108 wives, it's not a joke. And that's why when people challenge Krishna about his character, Prabhupada is very, very strongly brings the point, well, why don't you take care of 5 or 10 wives? It's just not possible. But Lord had 16,100 different palaces to look after each of his queen. That's his opulence. I mean, who can compete with that? Similarly, the Lord is full of strength. He was able to lift Govardhan Hill with his one pinky finger. The Lord is full of knowledge. Nobody can surpass Lord's knowledge as far as scriptures or anything for that matter goes. And the Lord is full of beauty. Who is more beautiful than Lord Krishna? So like this, these are 6 different attributes of the Lord. And anyone who has them in full is actually capable of being called Bhagavan. Not just you have riches, you have to have riches, wealth, fame, beauty, knowledge, renunciation, and strength. All these 6 things when you have, that is when you can be called Bhagavan. So next time, dear Prabhus and Matajis, as you go around during your work, during your housework, your office work, somebody tells you, let's say, I don't know, for example, Amit, please come with me, I'm going to show you Krishna. So the question you must ask is, this Krishna you are showing me, tell me a little bit about his attributes. What does he have? If he has all these 6 opulences, which is not going to be so easy to find, then you know clearly somebody is making a fool out of you. So be very, and that's why this Shastra acts as like a chakshu for us. It gives us the eyes of knowledge so we can clearly discriminate what is right, what is wrong, and what is to be followed using our intelligence. So that is Bhagavan. The second aspect is, what does Sri Bhagavan Krishna offers in chapter 10 compared to chapter 9? So Prabhupada is trying to tell us in this purport that he gives more confidential knowledge of his specific opulences and his work. And then Prabhupada is highlighting in chapter 7, the Lord explained his different energies and how they are acting in in relation to those energies. And in chapter 9, the Lord established his different energies to establish devotion in firm conviction. So Prabhupada is trying to remind us very kindly so that we don't forget, because at least my brain is quite dumb and dull. I don't remember what was happening in previous chapter, but Prabhupada is so kind. He's telling us, okay, this is what happened in the previous chapter, and this is what we will be discussing now. And these are the two other aspects from this purport, focus of learning. What are the benefits of hearing more? So hearing more fixes us in our devotional service. The more one hears, the more one becomes fixed in devotional service. And it enhances our devotional service. And hearing in the association of the devotees is the main reason for our Bhakti Lata Bij, the creeper of the Bhakti Lata, to grow very beautifully, all the way to be able to go back to spiritual world. There is no better benediction in the world than this benediction. Asking or praying to the Lord, my Lord, birth after birth or wherever possible, give me the association of your devotees. And if you're able to give me the association, then let me take the advantage of that association by being constantly absorbed in your Hari Katha. And then finally, we should be very, very eager. One thing is to have the opportunity. Second thing is to take an advantage, as I said about that hearing. So the discourses in the society, Prabhupada writes, in the society of devotees can only take place only among those who are really anxious to be in Krishna consciousness. Just like Arjuna's qualification, where Prabhupada is hinting and Krishna was telling, you are very, very dear to me. So you see, it's a very beautiful aspect. One thing is to, like Gaurang Prabhu speaks, and I like his lectures. And one time he was speaking and he said there are three kind of the fortunate people. The first person, the biggest fortune is in the world, not wealth, it's not fame, it's not beauty, it's not strength, and it's not power. For us, at least as a jivas, the main big aspect of our fortune is to have the association of Hari Bhaktas, the devotees who are worshipping the Lord. That's the first thing. The second thing is to not only have the association, but in that association to be able to hear Hari Katha, the pastimes of the Lord, the discussions on Bhagavad Gita, the discussions on Srimad Bhagavatam, and the various other Goswami literatures which are given to us. And the third most fortunate kind of person is one who has the association, he is hearing the Hari Katha, and he is hearing the Hari Katha constantly. So like this, you can measure the limit of somebody's fortune by these three things. So please try to remember, these are very important aspects. First is the association, second is to hear, and third is to constantly hear. And that's exactly what's been referred in this particular verse. And that very nicely brings me to the conclusion of this verse with a little story to conclude that why hearing is so important and what it can do to anybody. When I say anybody, that means anybody. Here it is. So there is a beautiful story of Dundakari and Gokarna. So many years ago, as most stories start, there was a wonderful family living in a sort of a forest area, and there were two brothers, and those brothers were Dundakari and Gokarna. So this Dundakari was actually born to a mother through the benediction from her husband, who prayed that he had wealth, but he did not have any son. So this particular, I do not recall the name of the father of Dundakari and Gokarna. He was praying helplessly for blessings, that if I could have one child, then my life will be successful. Similar to Angira Rishi from Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Rishi said, I can see you have no children for the 7 lives, and this is your 3rd life. And then the father became so upset, this person, and he said, no, you have to give me some benediction or some way of having a little child. So the Rishi, having had compassion on him, gave him one mango fruit to be given to his wife, and so that she can then beget a child. But the Rishi warned him that, let me tell you, my dear friend, that this son of yours will going to bring you some lamentation. So be very careful. So he was just so happy and overwhelmed with the idea of having a son. He ran back to his home and he gave the fruit to his wife and he asked her to honor it. Now, his wife wasn't so much interested in all these things. So she started to think, if I become pregnant, I'm going to be losing my physical body, and my body may become D-shaped, and it'll be difficult to come back in the shapes. I'm okay like this actually. Let me leave the fruit here, because she was asked to eat immediately, but she left it like that. And then next morning, her friend came in and she told her friend all about it. And her friend agreed, yeah, and I'm actually pregnant. Don't worry about the fruit. It's quite a difficult thing. You don't want to be pregnant. So the fruit was left just on a shelf and nobody ate it. And finally, that lady decided to give the fruit to a cow. Now, after a long time, this friend, because I don't know the names, I'm struggling to relate the story, but the friend who came to see this lady who wasn't eating the fruit, she was bearing a child, and she did say to her, when I have a son, I'll give it to you. And she became very happy. So after this lady gave a birth, she gave the son to her friend, and the cow who ate that fruit, mango, she also gave to a human child who had ears like a cow, because obviously came from a cow, but a human child was born from him. So that human child was named Gokarna, and the other person who was given to her as a gift from her friend was named Dundakari. And now both of them grew up in the family. Dundakari became extremely implicated in very bad habits like gambling, intoxication, and he managed to spend all the money of his father. And one day his father became so upset and he could not bear the pain. He left his body. He said, I can't take it. And then he started to go after his mother and ask for the money. And the mother said, I don't have money. He started to sell stuff which was in the home. And like this, he was completely engrossed in the sinful activities. And one fine day, unfortunately, after performing so many sinful activities, he had 5 wives actually, Dundakari. And all the 5 wives became so upset with his hideous activities that they decided to kill him. And then when Gokarna came to know about the death of his brother, he came to perform the Shraddha ceremony. And what happened is, just that night after the Shraddha ceremony, Dundakari became a ghost and he came to his wives and started to trouble them. And like that, he was troubling many personalities. So Gokarna became really worried and he started to pray to the Lord, how can I liberate my brother who is now in a ghostly body, who doesn't even have a gross body. So he was then instructed by a sadhu that you should perform 7 days of Srimad Bhagavatam Katha and invite Dundakari in that Katha, and that way he'll be able to hear and go back to spiritual world and get liberated. So Gokarna said, great. So he immediately began to organize a wonderful Katha, a nice program, and he started to speak on Bhagavatam. And because the ghost could not find a place to sit and hear Katha, there was a bamboo, there was a pandal which had bamboo, and the bamboos have like these, what do you call them, like a little slot, you can see them. So like this, there were different sections of the bamboo, and Dundakari went into the bamboo because he just had a subtle body. He took the gross body of the bamboo and he sat inside it. And as each day went by, each of these slots of the bamboo stick started to cut and one by one. So after the end of the 7 days of hearing Bhagavatam, which is full of the nectar from our acharyas, from the different pastimes of the Lord, this Dundakari was able to completely liberate himself, and a Viman came from the spiritual Vaikuntha world to take Dundakari back to the spiritual world. And then everybody was so jubilant and excited. My God, the ghost got liberated and finally he's going to spiritual world. But everybody started to think, hang on a minute, we all heard the Katha and he got the result who did not even have a gross body. Just with the subtle body of mind, intelligence, ego, he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam and he's going back. What about us? Everybody asked Gokarna. And Gokarna said to them that, my dear friends, the only reason Dundakari is able to go back is that he's the only one who heard with the rapt attention. Nobody else actually heard with such rapt attention. So after hearing, we have to spend time in meditating or contemplating on what we heard. And after contemplating, we should try to think what are the practical application in this. So like this, he went through all these different stages of hearing, and Dundakari was able to go back to the spiritual world because of his rapt attention. How and now everybody was requested Gokarna to organize another 7 days of Katha. And then finally another 7 days of Katha was organized, and this time everybody heard with rapt attention, having seen the lesson of Dundakari, and so many spiritual planes, aircraft came in, and they took everybody from that place back to the spiritual world. So that is why there are many people who only listen to Katha, but they are not interested in it. Also, there are many people who come to watch, to see what is going on, and to see who are invited to the Katha. Oh, and see, what kind of prasadam is being served. I'm talking about mostly because I'm sure all of you are very wonderful, elevated people. But I can speak for myself. A lot of my times, at least in the initial stages, even now, I'm quite fascinated about the prasadam in the Katha program, which is not a bad idea. At least it's spiritual. But gradually, I'm hoping one day I can develop the same desire like Dundakari and all these wonderful devotees had hearing the Hari Katha from Gokarna. Of course, this is one example of the 7 days of Katha, but Srila Prabhupada did not really encourage the 7 days of Katha. He said it is eternal. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatananchascha dhritavita, that we should always be hearing Hari Katha. You know, Srimad Bhagavatam says, Nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. Bhagavatam should be heard all the time. And we are in such a wonderful time of the history with these 3 months of Bhadra campaign going on. If you do not have Bhagavatam, my dear friends and Prabhus or Matajis, text me your number now and get in touch with me, and I will connect you with some devotees who can give you a detailed presentation of Bhagavatam and introduce this Bhagavatam to everybody else you meet, wherever you go, whatever you do, tell them about Srimad Bhagavatam. So we all can go back to spiritual world by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So I would like to end my today's conversation on this topic, that please stay tuned to hear this beautiful chapter, like how you all did for the 9th chapter, and you will see the perfection of your life will come about by hearing these opulences of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I hope there were some nice lessons in this story of Dundakari and Gokarna. So now I would like to open up for any comments, reflections, any questions, anything you would like to send in a chat box, feel free to do so. Or you can unmute yourself or ask a question or a comment or you may have.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, this is Yashwini Sachi. I've got another devotee with me, Shri Radha. She would like to ask you something.
Please go ahead.
Not exactly to ask you, but thank you for the wonderful, wonderful talk. And I just want to say, I don't have a question because I need to absorb it all first. And then next week or tomorrow, I might have a question. But thank you. My humble obeisance and glory to Sri Prabhupada.
All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for tuning in, and thanks for the encouragement. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Very
Thank you.
nice class.
Thank you. Okay, Pratibha Mataji is asking, what happened to Gokarna? Did he achieve salvation? What a beautiful question, Mataji. Indeed, he did. Just imagine anybody who hears Harikatha, he goes back to spiritual world. What to speak of somebody who's speaking? I mean, Gokarna was already a self-realized soul because of that benediction and how he was born and how he was raised with these devotee qualities. He was already a perfected soul. He only stayed there so he can help his brother Dundakari to give up the ghost body and go back to the spiritual world, and also to help all those other people. He definitely stayed back for many such kathas, but eventually he was able to attain spiritual world, Pratibha Mataji. That was a very beautiful question. Thank you for asking.
Hare Krishna Dibbanam.
Hare Krishna, Palika Mataji. So nice to hear from you.
Wonderful preaching. I like your preaching, very strong. And giving the story are hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, how we can be elevated to the spiritual world, which is wonderful. That's what I'm trying to do among the friends and family, so that everybody can take a set of Srimad Bhagavatam and study it and go back to the spiritual world. Thank you.
Thank you, Palika Mataji. That is the perfection of our life. I mean, if you think about it, we collect lots of things in our house, and lots of wealth and many other artifacts and things. My spiritual master says, like how you have a TV in every room of the house of the people as you go. They like to watch TV, but the best thing is to have a Srimad Bhagavatam set in each room of your house or a flat. So wherever you go, you see Bhagavatam. So you pick it up and start reading and perfect your life, actually. That's how beautiful this literature is, Palika Mataji. You know it more than I do. You've been reading it. I'm just following in your footsteps, Palika Mataji. And I'm hoping one day by studying, reading, and in the association with all of you and devotees like you, I'll also be able to develop some attraction for Bhagavatam. On that,
you are so wonderful.
I just want to say on that note, on this Saturday and Sunday, we are doing a very special event. Watch out! If you haven't joined the Sankirtan Forever group, we are doing a 1 hour of calling party on Sunday, where we will be encouraging all of you to reach out to your friends and tell them about this Bhadra campaign. And how to learn about that campaign, we are going to do a 1 hour call on Saturday to share with you that how you can introduce and take appointments from all these people, and we will give you the appointment slot, timing, so you can take the booking of your friends, and we will do a free online presentation of the entire Bhagavatam to you. So if you would also like to have a presentation of the entire album or are interested in finding about Bhadra, I'm going to now write my email address here. It's much easier for me to keep track on the email address. You can just send me an email saying, Divya, I'm really interested in hearing or learning about the Bhadra and this Srimad Bhagavatam literature, and I would welcome an opportunity of presentation to my entire family, including the children, and how they can get benefit about these wonderful stories which are so important for our children. So I've shared my email address, daveshkumar@hotmail.co.uk. Please refer to the chat section and just write me a note. Yes, I'm interested. Contact me when you're ready with the timings for presentation. So back to any other devotee. I have a message here from one Mataji who's saying, this is Darshana Mataji. Thank you very much for a nice class, Prabhuji. Beautiful recitation by Sridham and Bhagavati Mataji. Thank you, Darshana Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Hema Mataji.
Can I share something that I heard with Radhanath Maharaj this morning?
Please go ahead.
So Maharaj was talking about Bhagavad Gita and listening. You were talking about listening carefully, and he was talking that when the speaker is repeating exactly what Krishna said and exactly what Prabhupada has interpreted, and when the listener is listening with like a Chataka bird, with total faith, total conviction and attention, then Krishna's energy is actually present there where it's being recited. And wow. I thought that was so powerful because that's what we've been doing. Well, you've been, inspiring us to do that all last month and the month before. And I was thinking that do we actually feel Krishna's energy here while we're listening? And one thing that helped me with was when Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu said that reflect back and write what you've learned on chapter 9. Normally you listen, you move on and you move on to the next chapter.
Yes.
And this time I actually reflected, and that mananam was very, very useful because I actually thought, oh, wow, I have actually learned something. We're just not reciting and listening every day, but we've actually absorbed some of the things. So thank you so much to all of you. But very useful. But Maharaj's realization was very helpful for me today.
Oh, that is so profound. Thank you so much, Hema Mataji. That is so true. Listening is a perfection of our human form of life, having these ears. That's what they're meant to do. When we are taking the material vibration, best is to take it from one ear and take it out from the other side. But when we are taking the spiritual nectar, it is explained in the Shastra that it is ocean inside. as Krishna tells in this chapter, in one of the verses we read today, you will never be satiated in hearing about. No, Arjuna is telling Krishna, I will never be satiated enough. I'll never be satisfied. I want to keep hearing. So although they look very small, but they are like ocean inside for one who wants to hear Harikatha. And you are definitely that devotee, Hema Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. There is a comment here from a devotee. Can we start reading Bhagavatam here as well? Wow, that is a beautiful message. Well, Prabhu, I wish we could read all the scriptures of our acharyas one day. But I think it's a good start with Bhagavad Gita. And with Bhagavatam, we are offering a very good program. We are not just giving you the books, but we are offering you a lifestyle where we will be allocating a lifestyle coach to you. We will do an overview of the Bhagavatam course. Myself and Vrindavan Chand Prabhu are being trained by School of Bhakti to try and do an overview of Bhagavatam like how Sutapa Prabhu does over the course of next few days. So there will be a lot of resources available, and there are many devotees who can help you read Bhagavatam. And we will be looking to start something in the future, perhaps once a week or something, depending on how things carry on. So that is the plan. So if you are interested, Prabhu, then definitely write to me and we can share all the details of the program with all of you. Any last comments or question? I'd like to mention I also have a very dear friend here, or rather, a senior person, Amit, who joins us every evening, especially from the last few weeks. I'm very honored and privileged. He's a wonderful person. I've known him for a few years now, but I was not in touch with him. But somehow, by Krishna's arrangement, I feel very happy and fortunate that Krishna allowed me to be back in touch with such a nice soul. And we are trying to kind of catch up once a week. So thank you, Amit, for tuning in. And it means a lot to all of us that you join us, and I'm hoping it's helpful for you as well. Amit says Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Amit. Thank you. Okay, great. Anybody else for any comments or question before we conclude for this evening?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Is
Yes,
Jyoti
Mataji.
here?
Yes, Jyoti Mataji.
This is just something. There is a lady in our group. She recites really beautifully in Sanskrit.
Okay.
And I really, she's like my favorite. She does it really well. But I have a personal question, and I feel like I can ask her, but I've forgotten who she is. I don't know if she's listening to us right now.
Okay.
You know the initial days when I joined and she
Right.
used to recite Sanskrit, but I've forgotten her name. How do I locate her?
Oh, Krishna. So,
Divya Gaurangi.
Divya Gaurangi Mataji.
If I can hear her voice, even in hello, I can tell.
Divya Gaurangi Mataji, if you're listening, then say Hare Krishna.
This is like Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes. Darshana. Okay. Oh my God. So your name is Darshana Mataji.
Yeah, my material name is Darshana, and my Guru Maharaj is His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So my initiated name is Divya Gaurangi Divi Dasi. But on WebEx, I don't know how to change my names to Divya Gaurangi. It's just coming what my computer has. So, but Zoom, I use Divya Gaurangi. So yeah.
Yeah, stay close to Divya Gaurangi Mataji. That's a good idea, Jyoti Mataji.
No, I have just learned from all these senior devotees at temple and Prabhuji and all Mataji. So it's no secret.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, so now you know Jyoti Mataji, you can connect with her. And
okay.
Thank you so much, Prabhus and Mataji. It's 8:45. I'd like to conclude this evening. As I said, watch out for Saturday and Sunday. Get involved. You just need to attend a call on Saturday at 11 o'clock. All the details will be shared on the Sankirtan Forever group. And there you just hear what you need to tell others. You won't be presenting Bhagavatam, don't worry. Those who can, that's brilliant. But if you can't, you just tell them a little bit about the Bhadra campaign, which we will take you through very systematically. We will give you some information. And you just try to take their appointment saying, do you have half an hour, 40 minutes available during the week? We have few slots. We can book you in. and we will go in online and present them a full Bhagavatam presentation and tell them that how this literature can add so much of value, especially in this difficult time in people's life. And that's what Prabhupada wanted all of us to do. We were hearing my Guru Maharaj, we had a call with him, and he said that this was the intention of Srila Prabhupada to benefit the world so that we are ready for any calamity. I mean, COVID-19 is one situation in the material world, but for so many places in the world, there is so much happening, ladies and gentlemen, that people are suffering for the want of knowledge actually. And when they get the knowledge, they get a relief and they understand, oh, this suffering is not in my hand. This misery is not my hand, but suffering is my choice, as Radhanath Maharaj says. And I'm not going to suffer because I'm going to take shelter of Krishna in form of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So watch out for those details. If you are not on the Sankirtan Forever group, send me a message and I'll send you the link to join the group on my WhatsApp. My name is Divyanand Das and my number is 07527424115. Thank you very much for joining in this evening and a nice start for the chapter 10 with the Gokarna and Dundakari story. As Hema Mataji said, reflections really help. So if you have any reflections from today's session, do reflect it back onto our WhatsApp group or any questions. I'll try to do my best to answer them. Mukunda Hari Prabhu will take us from here tomorrow, and I will see you day after tomorrow, probably on a Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpat.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Namo Namaha.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Prabhu.
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you so
Krishna
much.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.